Ulrich Brueckner knows Europe better than almost anybody else we know. He's the Jean Monnet Professor of European Studies at Stanford University in Berlin. And Ulrich, the reason I'm introducing you like that is not just because it's the truth, because I'm wondering if your jaw dropped as much as so many other people when they saw the exit polls.
Well, it was quite a shock to see what is possible in a country that is a founding member of the European community and that has always been presented itself as liberal and open-minded and pluralist. The good thing is it is democracy, and if people aren't satisfied with the establishment, they have all the chances to vote for something else. And it's a country that is known for checks and balances. So even if a hardliner presents the most outrageous positions as Islamophobia or discriminating Dutch people, it doesn't necessarily mean that he gets away with it. It's extremely difficult to form a coalition. This is something Mark Rutte has experienced in the previous coalition that took forever until he finally got a number of coalition partners together, and it will definitely be much harder, but it's a terrible signal in what direction the Netherlands are moving.
Where does he rate, Ulrich, for you in the ranking of far-right European politicians? You remember, obviously you do, Jörg Haider in Austria, Marine Le Pen in France, Viktor Orban in Hungary, and then you have Geert Wilders. Is it possible that he's even further to the right than any of those other figures? I mean, many people say that Geert Wilders is basically a racist. He wants to ban, and this isn't the reason they call him a racist, he wants to ban mosques and the Quran in the Netherlands. Just one example of his Islamophobia.
Well, we have to put things in the context of domestic politics. And although in every country we have different forms of right-wing parties or individuals that express things that sound in other countries outrageous, the political spectrum is not always in the same position. For example, the political spectrum in Germany compared with the United States is far more left, and we can apply this to many other countries. There are more conservative societies, for example, in Central and Eastern Europe, and therefore it's difficult to compare what right means in the different contexts of a country. Wilders is a very inward-looking person, as if a world outside the Netherlands doesn't exist. They want to build something like a fortress Netherlands and keep all the turbulences and problems of the world outside the Netherlands, as if you could go back and glorify something like the good old days of the 1950s that actually never existed, but appear as something like a role model. The one thing is, what is he saying? The other thing is, what can he actually do, given that he finds enough coalition partners to elect him as the prime minister? And we have seen in the case of Meloni in Italy that she said a lot of terrible things before she was elected. And then given the interdependence of the European Union, she couldn't actually do it because the market would have punished her instantly. So it's one thing to be shocked from what happened yesterday in the Netherlands, but it's another thing to see what will happen in the nearer future in the European Union. It will be a new game next year on the 9th of June if all the right-wing forces, no matter how right-wing they are, will join forces and dominate the European Parliament as the worst case scenario. This will be something that will change Europe. But for now, it is a domestic situation in the Netherlands, and it will be interesting to see how long it's going to take until we see who's going to be the next government.
Ulrich, talk to us about what you've just ended on there, about how Geert Wilders, if he were to become prime minister, might be able to disrupt the working of the European Union, because obviously he's an EU skeptic. He says that he's not sure if he wants to bring his idea of a referendum on whether the people of the Netherlands want to leave the EU, because he doesn't think there's really a national sentiment towards that move, but he certainly feels that way.
Well, I think it is just sound. It is not something that a country like the Netherlands could actually afford. They are not doing very well economically speaking. There are a number of social problems in the Netherlands, and people aren't used to this after a long phase of a boom and being very comfortable with a functioning welfare system. They are also shocked by organized crime that is mostly dominated by people with a migration background from Northern Africa. So he has a point. He has something that he can mobilize. It's not just anti-migration as such, but there is a mishmash of things that make people feel uncomfortable and they fear things. And at the same time, we are discussing a reform of the European Union with further enlargement. And there are so many uncertainties that people who just follow their emotions and don't rationally calculate, is there a future of an Nexit if the Netherlands would stand alone? This is far from imagining, given the high interdependence and the dependency of the Dutch economy from a European single market.
Ulrich Brueckner, thank you very much indeed, Ulrich. Look forward to the next time.